Stop. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. I know you've been thinking what I'm thinking. But fear not, my darling. Here we don't judge. And today I'm going to fulfill your secret wish. And we're going to compare CAZ with CAS. Hi guys, I'm Bloom and I love making content about life simulation games, and recently we've been talking a lot about inZOI in The Sims, so if you like that type of content, please make sure to subscribe. That helps my channel a lot. Okay, now first things first, when you enter CAZ or CAS. So when you first create a Zoi or create a sim, you have to pick the names, and the only thing different between both games is that in inZOI you choose your last name first and then your first name. And then moving on, we're going to talk about the gender now. So currently in inZOI, the only thing that you can choose is between male and female, and there's not a lot of customization there. Whereas The Sims, I know some people think it's a bit confusing, and it can be at first because there's a lot of things that you can customize, but generally speaking, I think The Sims 4 is better when it comes to that, because I do use those customization options, and I think a lot of players find it really useful and they use it in their games, and I actually use it quite often, more than you'd probably think. And also in The Sims you can choose other things like your romantic boundaries that came after Sims 4 Love Struck just recently, and you can also change your romantic interests, like what your sim is interested in, and you can change like gender aspects, so like if you can get pregnant, if your sim produces milk, you know, things like that, because in the game in Sims 4 you can breastfeed babies, so that's why that question is there, because if your sim can't produce milk, then your sim won't be able to breastfeed. So it makes sense to be there. So there's a lot of options in The Sims, and yes, I agree, some of them could be tweaked a little bit, but I still think that it's better to have that than to have nothing. So regarding gender and romantic interests and things like that, I think The Sims win because there's a lot more options. And I don't know if in inZOI in the future we're gonna have more options, but at the moment you can only choose between male and female. And another thing, in The Sims you can have like a male frame but then have female characteristics, so I think it's really good and interesting, and I actually use that. And also don't forget that in The Sims you can change your voice, your character's voice, even though we don't have many options, but we do have some options. We can change our character voices, and you can change their walk styles. Again, I don't know if inZOI is going to have that. I didn't look into it, so if you know the answer to that, please let me know down below in the comments. I did a little bit of research, but I couldn't find any answer, so I just gave up. So I don't know if we're gonna have that in the future for inZOI, but at the moment we don't. So there's another thing that The Sims has that I think is really cool. Now going to personality and traits. So here we're not going to analyze how the traits act, how they behave in the game, because we can't play inZOI yet. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about the mechanics, like choosing the trait. So the way it works in The Sims 4 is we have different categories of traits, and then you pick, at the moment you can pick 3 different traits for your sim, and they are divided in these categories, and then you can pick and choose the traits you want. And in inZOI you have, I believe it's like 18 traits or something like that that you can choose from, and these traits, each trait has their own characteristics, so it's like you choose one big trait that represents a certain type of personality. So just looking at it that way, me personally, and this I think is very personal, I think I would much prefer being able to choose different traits to then get an overall personality, rather than choosing an overall personality that has different traits. So when it comes to that, I think I prefer The Sims, the style of The Sims. But I don't like the traits in The Sims 4 because I think some of them are a bit silly. So how is, like, you have some traits that I think they are a little bit shallow, like loves outdoors. Do you see what I mean? Is that will take up one slot from your personality slots. So I don't like the traits, but I like the way they thought about it. And inZOI in the beginning was going to do that. They would give you a list of traits, and then you choose, I think it was quite a few traits. I think it was 5, 6, something like that. And now they changed it to this new system, which I think it could be interesting, but because I don't have gameplay experience with that, I don't know if I'm going to prefer that, because at the moment I think I would prefer to choose separate traits and not just one big trait. But then of course in inZOI we have other systems. We have the values system that we don't have in the Sims 4 base game. You know how you can, when your Sims are children and I think teens, you can change like confidence, responsibility. They are like values, and then at the end it will give you a trait if it's negative or if it's positive. So in inZOI is something similar. Each Zoi has values, and depending on how you play, certain values will impact your gameplay or not, and that's always changing depending on what you do with your Zoi. And I think that is a great addition. I think it gives personality to your Zois as well as the traits. So I think that inZOI has more depth when it comes to personality. Even the big traits that you choose from, they seem to be very much in depth and like more realistic. I feel like they're more personality traits than loves outdoors. Do you see what I mean? I hope it was clear enough. And then moving on to Aspirations. Again, I think inZOI is going to win this one, because Sims 4 Aspirations, we have been complaining about Sims 4 Aspirations for a long time now, because they just feel like a list of things that you have to do, not exactly like your life aspiration. So it's something that Saturn Sims, he talks about it a lot, like the aspirations feel like a tutorial, and it's so true. And in inZOI, it's very different. First, starting with desired life, we have desired life and we have ambitions. So desired life is how your Zoi wants to live life, and ambitions is the things that your Zoi wants to achieve. So they separated it in two different things, and I think that's really good, because desired life is not necessarily the way you want to live your life, is not necessarily your ambition. So I really love that inZOI separated those things into different systems, and Sims 4 doesn't really feel like your life aspiration. Does that make sense? And then in inZOI you have desired life. One example is loved life. So your Zoi wants to live life like surrounded by love and loving family and partner and friends. So I think that desired life is a lot more meaningful than Sims 4 Aspirations, not to mention the ambitions. So I think for this, inZOI is the winner. Now let's talk about appearance. So first thing I want to mention, you know the push and pull system in the Sims that you can like drag your mouse and change your Sim's face or whatever else. So Paralive said they couldn't do that in Paralives because apparently it was copyrighted by EA or something like that. And then now in inZOI you can do that. So I'm a bit confused. I don't know if that is going to carry on until early access. I don't know if it's always going to have that. Or maybe it's just something that only applies to the US. I don't know. But in inZOI you can do the same thing, like similar to The Sims, where you push and pull the character's face and then change the features. Okay, so now talking about that, the push and pull system, The Sims 4 has a lot more flexibility than inZOI. So when I was playing Character Studio, I struggled a lot to change my Zoi's characteristics. Like, I think the nose was very limited. Like, I was trying to change the nose bridge, and then I could only change the depth, but I couldn't change if it was like I couldn't change it like up and down, and I couldn't rotate the tip of the nose. You know, I'm just listing here a few limitations that I noticed. And also the eyes, I couldn't really change. Like some parts of the eye I couldn't change. So this inner corner here, I remember that I picked a preset that was slightly similar to my eye, but then it had a very distinct inner corner that doesn't look like mine, and I was unable to change that. So I had to change the preset to a preset that looked like my eye, so then I could change it. So in The Sims 4, I feel like we have more flexibility when it comes to that, like literally changing the shape of things. And in inZOI, I feel like you have to rely a lot on presets, because I feel like you need to choose the preset that you like and then adjust that preset. And I feel like in The Sims, you can make the preset. Does that make sense? So this is only it's not even early access for inZOI yet, it's just a demo. So I don't know how it's gonna work in early access when they finally release the game. Maybe we're gonna have more variety of presets, but at the moment I felt very limited to the presets. I felt very limited changing, like literally changing the shape of things. And because of that, I felt like a lot of people were creating like very, very similar ZOIs because everyone was using the same presets. And you know, the same face syndrome that everyone talks about. I feel like that's a little bit worse in inZOI than in The Sims 4. But maybe they're still going to adjust that more before early access. So we'll see. Another thing about the slides is that I felt like inZOI slides were a bit limited. So like I mentioned, the nose bridge, for example, like I couldn't change it like drastically. Like it could only go so far. And I know that we have that limitation in The Sims 4 too. It's just because I felt like in inZOI it was more limited. So like when I was trying to adjust like the tummy of my ZOIs, I felt like I couldn't go much further. Like I couldn't go out much. Does that make sense? And then the bum bums as well. You can't make big bum bums. So I thought the slides could be a little bit more flexible in inZOI. Okay, now let's talk about details. So I feel like inZOI, especially if you compare it to the Sims 4 base game, I feel like inZOI already has more options. Like we already have body hair, like chest hair, we already have that. We already have skin details. You can change like facial lines. You can have lines like smile lines, and then you can change the shape of the chin, and you can have eye bags. You can have all the skin details. You can make your skin like look more oily or more dry. You can have freckles, although freckles are in the makeup category, and I don't know how I feel about that. And in The Sims 4, it took us a long time to have those things, but you need to remember that The Sims is 10 years old, and for a 10 years old game, I feel like The Sims is quite alright, honestly. And also, don't forget that in inZOI we have eyelashes, and in The Sims 4 it's just now that we finally got some eyelashes and they don't look that great. Now talking about makeup, inZOI makeup looks stunning. It looks really good, and I feel like it gives a lot more depth to your ZOI's face. And honestly, makeup in The Sims 4, I'm not talking about, nothing that I'm talking about here is CC or mods. I'm talking about the game itself, the things that we have access with the game. And I feel like makeup in The Sims 4 is really disturbing. Even the partnerships that they did with the MAC cosmetics, they look horrid. And sometimes I feel like using makeup makes your sim look worse than without makeup. So when it comes to makeup, inZOI definitely wins. Now let's talk about outfits. So of course everyone's gonna say inZOI is better, but I just want to point out one thing here, is that in The Sims 4 we have outfit categories. We already heard from the inZOI devs that we are going to have categories for, I honestly think that I'm saying that name wrong. I think I'm saying category. I think I'm saying it wrong. Categories. I think that's what it is, isn't it? So in The Sims 4 we have outfits categories, and in inZOI we don't have at the moment, but we are going to have. Okay, we are going to have that. So since we're talking about that, I want to talk about the recent feature that we have in The Sims 4 to copy and paste. So I hope that when inZOI brings that, I hope that they do the same thing, that you can like choose one makeup and apply it to all the outfits. So I hope that inZOI does that, because that is extremely useful, and we've been asking The Sims for that for ages, and it's only now that we finally got that. So yeah, I hope that when inZOI implements this system, we can copy and paste outfits, and especially like if you wanted to make a ZOI with freckles, it's makeup. So if you can't apply it to all outfits, you're gonna have to go to each outfit and put that blush that has freckles. Okay, now let's talk about the outfits. So in The Sims 4, we have a long list of outfits in 2 bloody columns if you don't use mods, and it takes absolutely ages to pick one because you can't really see them properly because there's so many of them, and also you can't really customize them. You have to go with the swatches they give you, and in inZOI we don't have that. I think that is something that, to me, that makes inZOI the winner, because I absolutely love the ability to create outfits. So in inZOI you can literally create your own outfits. And I did that in my last video. If you haven't seen that one yet, it's me testing the character studio. So go check that out. I made a custom t-shirt there, a custom top, a crop top, and it looked amazing. It looked exactly the same that I was wearing. And I was really surprised with that, and I was very happy. It looks amazing. I cannot wait to be a designer in inZOI and make lots of different outfits. And I think that is a feature that will convince a lot of people to play it just because of that feature, because that's how amazing it is. And in The Sims 4, of course, we do have that. If you want to create custom outfits in The Sims, you have to learn to fiddle with Blender, Marvelous Designer, and then Photoshop, all of that. And with inZOI, you don't have to do that. You can do that inside the game. You just need to apply a texture, and that's it. I thought it was really amazing. I absolutely love that feature, and I think that makes inZOI the winner. And also, let's not mention that the outfits they gave us, some of them you can customize, not all of them, but some of them you can customize with a color wheel, and you can even change. Now I can't remember if you can change the texture, but I know you can change the color with a color wheel. And I honestly think that The Sims 4, I think it's very sad that we don't have color wheels in The Sims 4, although The Sims 4 is 10 years old. But then The Sims 3 is even older and had a bloody color wheel. So I'm sorry, I can't defend The Sims on that one. There's another detail about The Sims 4 that I like, is that when you click on an outfit, so like if you click on the top, it will go to the catalog and will show you that outfit. I noticed that in inZOI you can't do that, so I think when you have lots of outfits, that's going to be a little bit hard. I don't know if they're going to change that, but I really like that feature in The Sims 4, because you're able to find the outfit very easily just by clicking on it, and it will go to the catalog. It will show the item in the catalog, and then you can change the swatch or whatever. And I hope inZOI implements that. And another thing about inZOI now is that in inZOI you can layer clothes, which I think is amazing. You can put like jackets on, you can layer the clothes, and I really like that, and I wish we could do that in The Sims. And now talking about hair, honestly I don't think there's much to talk about, because inZOI 100% wins this one. At the moment we don't have a lot of hairstyles available in the demo, but once we get more, I think inZOI is going to kill it, because some of the hairstyles you can change the length, not to mention how customizable the colors are. You can change with a color wheel, you can change highlights. If you don't want to change the highlights, you can change like the whole color of the hairstyle. So hairs are 100% better in inZOI. Not to mention that we have hair physics. In The Sims 4 we don't have hair physics. We had hair physics in The Sims 2. So yeah, I think inZOI wins that one too. Okay guys, so this is the end of my comparison. I just picked a few things that I noticed between both and just compare them a little bit. But you have to keep in mind that it's a bit of an unfair comparison, because I know they're both life simulation games, but they're very different games. And The Sims 4 was released 10 years ago. inZOI is a brand new game, and inZOI is not even in early access yet, so it's not really the best time to do this comparison. Well, it's never going to be the best time to make this comparison, because The Sims is a very old game. Maybe if you already had Project Renee, then we could compare it, but I don't think it's really like something that you can compare, because they're both different games. One is 10 years old, another one is brand new, it's not even in early access yet, and at the end of the day, they are very different games. They have different art styles, they have different mechanics, so yeah, but still I just wanted to talk about these things because I think it's inevitable to compare the two because they are both life simulation games and we only had The Sims until now, so we can't help it. So there you go. Let me know in the comments what you think and which one do you think is better. Are you planning on playing inZOI? I know some people are not too keen on the art style, so yeah, I would love to know what you think. And yes, also let me know what you think of Character Studio. Are you happy with it? Did you notice some limitations too? Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!